Well, welcome back. So glad that you're here for session number 4 of this B series. Today, we're talking about something that's easy to struggle with and hard to admit: patience. And let's be honest, this one can hit close to home for a lot of us. So let me ask you a question. Where, when, or with whom do you find yourself having a short fuse? Maybe it's in traffic or while trying to get your kids out the door in the morning, or maybe it's with that one coworker who just doesn't get it. Or maybe you find yourself getting frustrated with yourself when you're not growing fast enough, or when your life isn't going the way that you had it planned. I mean, we all have those moments where our patience runs out and frustration just takes over. And when it does, things tend to explode. But what if I told you that patience isn't just about waiting quietly? What if I told you that what our world needs now, maybe more than ever, is people who have a long fuse? Not the kind where you wait quietly in the grocery line, the kind that shows up when someone cuts you off or when someone disrespects you or just keeps making the same mistake over and over. The kind of patience that Paul calls a macrothumia in the Greek, which literally means long suffering. It's not don't give up patience, it's don't blow up patience. And Paul tells us in Galatians chapter 5 that that kind of patience is one of the fruits of the Spirit. In other words, we don't produce it by willpower, we cultivate it by staying in step with God's Spirit. That fruit, love, joy, peace, patience, grows in us when we live aware of God's presence and we yield to Him and His leading. But what does that kind of patience really look like in real life? In First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 14, Paul breaks it down for us. He says, "Be patient with everyone, especially these three groups of people." Like the disruptive people. Those are the rule breakers, the ones who don't care how things work. And Paul doesn't say rebuke those people. He says warn them. That means caring enough to guide and not condemn. You don't yell at someone who's about to drive off a cliff. You warn them because you care. And then there's the disheartened group. These are the ones who need more encouragement than most people. They're like low on resilience and they're really quick to give up. And if we're being honest, they can be draining on us emotionally. But Paul says, encourage them like over and over and over again. Don't get annoyed with them, get close to them. And then Paul talks about a third group, which is the weak, not as in they're less than, but they're not there yet. These are the new Jesus followers, the people still figuring things out. They're where you were maybe 10 years ago, and they need you to walk at their pace, not your own pace. Paul says, help them, give them something to lean on. And then Paul hits us with the kicker verse in verse 15. Be patient with everyone. Do not repay wrong with wrong. Strive to do good to all. And let me just tell you, that is not natural, but that's the way of Jesus. And Paul knew what that looked like. He called himself the worst of sinners, the violent prosecutor who went door to door, literally hunting and killing Christians. And yet, Jesus showed Paul immense patience. And Paul said Jesus had used him as a model to prove how long God's fuse really is for us. You want to grow in patience? Start by remembering how much patience God has had with you. That's where supernatural patience begins. It is an awareness of the patience you've received. The Spirit grows in you when you live from that awareness. So, what does that kind of patience look like in us? Well, it's slow to speak and it's quick to listen. It assumes the best instead of assuming the worst. It responds rather than just reacting. It writes gracious narratives about others, not bitter ones. And it doesn't cancel people, it walks with them. So here's the bottom line: you gain nothing by losing your patience, but you risk losing everything: trust, relationships, influence, when you don't have patience. When you cultivate patience, you reflect Jesus. And sometimes, just maybe, you'll help other people find faith simply because you had a long fuse. And that is exactly what our world needs now. This is definitely going to take a little bit of practice. So use that putting it into practice section in your series guide this week, and let's practice patience together. But before we go, let's all say our series verse together out loud. And this time, let's see if we can say it without even looking at it. Ready? Here it is from Galatians 5:22 and 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control. All right, how'd you do with that? Let's keep working on it, and soon we're going to have that committed to memory, this important verse in our minds. I'll see you next time.